Oxford from the inside. The good, the bad, but always the truth.
Hey guys, welcome to Oxford from the Inside, the good, the bad, but always the truth. Today we're here with JP. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is JP. I'm a fourth year biochemist at St Hilda's College.
Nice. And today we're going to be talking about how to self-publish a book. As this guy here, JP, himself has self-published a book. So to start off, JP, what made you decide to write a book?
Yeah, I think there were three main factors of why I wrote the book and what the book is about, which is about education reform. I think, firstly, the main reason for me was kind of just looking back over my academic journey, as it were, through secondary school, through university, and just looking at what I've missed out. And certain things like recently, I think in January, I had to fill out my very first self-assessment tax form. And I had no idea what I was doing. And I was a bit shocked about why I didn't learn that at all during my education system. So it was things like that where I'm realizing I need to do things now in life, which would have been easier if I just covered them a little bit at school. The second reason I wrote it is that I don't really believe the school system at the moment is that reflective of the 21st century. So, I mean, I personally in English only really read books from British authors, a few from elsewhere, but there weren't any texts about LGBTQ issues, there weren't any texts about racial issues. I just found that a bit strange that why would they just separate it into PSHE? Why was the whole curriculum as a whole not reflective of the 21st century? So that's again something I raised. Like looking back for me, it seemed like the whole school system was very whitewashed, cisgendered, and heteronormative, which is just not the world we live in. And thirdly, in a kind of funny vibe, I didn't want to revise for my finals and thought if I wrote a book, it would be kind of good procrastination, but it was still procrastination. So yeah, I also write a bit in the end of my book in a chapter called My Realizations about why I also wrote the book. So there's some more depth in there too.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, so those are all really interesting points. And yeah, there's lots to say about that, all of it behind. Yeah, I was wondering just before we move on, what about so you're saying that in schools there's not enough teaching about things that'll be useful later in life, like tax returns. But is there an argument to be made that the age that we're at in school and the maturity of young teenagers, even if you were to try to teach them things that like life lessons that will be useful for them in the future, like tax returns, that it will just go through one ear and out the other, just because maybe would it be hard to try to convince a 15-year-old that they should pay attention when they're being taught how to pay their taxes?
Yeah, you make a very valid point, and I think I should clarify. So I kind of talk more about secondary schools, and the way I would do it is integrate it into existing lessons. So, for example, for maths, you could do a problem which involves a percentage of tax, or looking at this person earns a salary of X amount, they pay this much tax, how much do they end up with? That could even be an exam question on GCSE. And plus, with that, that's more kind of financial education. That should be incorporated into PSHE. So that maybe when you're in your 17, 18, I think what that year is depends on what school you go to. But when you're about to leave secondary school, some people don't go to university. So that really should be in secondary school, and then you would learn it there. And you'd be old enough to actually understand, damn, I'm going to leave school soon. I know you don't want to, but you're going to leave school soon. You're going to end up in the real world. It'd be great to know a little bit about what you're about to go into.
No, no, that's really interesting. And yeah, I can see how integrating it with pre-existing is a great idea. Hitting two birds with one stone. How can listeners get their hands on your book?
Yeah, so you can find my book. It's called What's the Point of School? How the Current Education System is Failing to Prepare Students for the Real World. It's available only on Amazon. It's a paperback and an ebook. The ebook is slightly cheaper. So it depends what kind of form you like, whether you're the sort of person that likes to read it on a device or you still prefer the old-fashioned kind of flicking the pages and smelling the book sort of person.
Nice. And before we go on to what you learned from the process, I was just wondering, in short, what did like how did you self-publish the book? What did you use?
You mean program-wise?
Sorry, that wasn't a clear question. In terms of how, so okay, I know you use Amazon. How did you use Amazon basically? Like, is it
Right. So
anyone?
there's a website called Kindle Direct Publishing, which is linked to Amazon, and you can upload your manuscript there, and then you can use an app actually. There's an application for desktop called Kindle Previewer. So this is for ebooks I'm talking about. If you put your ebook file into that, it will then show you what the book will look like on devices. And then what you can even do is what I did is email that file to yourself, and then I opened it up on my iPad, opened it up on my phone, so I could see what the book would look like. Because normally with ebooks, you can get quite a lot of errors with spacings or things just not looking right. And then with Kindle Direct Publishing, the website, you can then upload your EPUB file, your ebook file, and then it will then distribute that onto the website. You have to also fill out a lot of details about yourself and taxes and stuff like that, because of course, if you earn any money on the book, they need to be able to tax you accordingly.
Nice. So, am I right in saying that, like anyone, like there's no like hurdles to go through to if you have a manuscript ready to publish your own book?
Yes, absolutely. Anyone can put anything they want online. The only thing I would say is make sure you get. I mean, there's a whole team involved. For me, it was my friends working with me on the initial drafts, and then it was an editor, and I think and other people. But I think I'm going to stop with the editor because that's the one most important person I think you need on this journey with you. Because unfortunately, even if you write your own manuscript and think it's the best in the world, you need a second opinion. You need someone to scrutinize it and to tell you this could be rephrased, that could be redone, that should be moved, that isn't necessary, that's too much waffle, yada yada. You need that. And I think you can tell which people haven't got an editor, haven't got that really helpful advice, because those books are kind of more indie books. And my book's quite an indie book as well, because it's self-published, it's not a professional book. But I think the editor I had, I was so lucky, she was so good at just making everything I said so much better and cutting through a lot of the crap and a lot through the errors, because those can still be in there. So I would definitely hold the brakes on before just releasing what you have into the wild. I would get some people to check it before you do.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree. But it's quite amazing that anyone can go on Amazon and yeah, just self-publish their book. Which is definitely something that you can do 30, 40, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. The opportunity to give out your opinion now is amazing. Which I imagine lots of people listening to this wanting to go to uni and then maybe academia. Like, you know, writing is a passion that lots of people might want to do. And I think for me and lots of people, you know, the idea of publishing is something that's really hard to achieve because, you know, to get a publisher to think that your idea is great and then to like fund your book is normally the main hurdle. But the fact that through Amazon you can self-publish without much costs or any costs is amazing. So I want to ask, what did you learn from the process then of self-publishing?
So I learned a lot. The first thing I learned, I've kind of already briefly mentioned, is that with an editor going through your manuscript, they will crush your self-confidence, and that is a good thing. Because unfortunately, even if I read through my first manuscript and I thought, this is quite good, she went through it with such a fine tooth comb that nearly every single sentence had something that could be changed or edited or made better. And if you're the sort of person that doesn't like people criticizing you, you're going to hate this stage. Because I think now I'm probably much better at taking criticism on my university essay than I was before I did this book and had the editor go through it. Because I had to rewrite the whole thing probably about 40 times, if anything. And the process, I wouldn't say it was enjoyable or wasn't enjoyable. It was laborious, but it was needed. And I think the editor just did such a great job of focusing everything I had to say, rearranging things. And I think I went through about 7 or 8 drafts of the whole thing and really cut down about a third of the text. So you can tell that's like a lot being cut down to trim it. And that's one thing I would say is you have to learn to, once you've got your first initial draft, which can take some time as well, but once you've got that first draft, learn to go back over it repeatedly to change things. That's something you have to get used to. The second thing I learned is actually about motivation, which I think is relevant rather to anything you do, let alone a book or an exam or any project. And that is to get motivation from your friends and family. Because for me, they were such a big part of this book. I had friends that would help me on. So the chapters in the book are roughly based on school subjects. And I had friends that studied those school subjects at university help me with their opinions and their perspectives and reread the kind of drafts of chapters. And they were just so helpful as well. And many of them are in the acknowledgements of the book because I'm so grateful for what they did. And also my family had to put up with me every single night being like, oh, I've just typed so many number of words today and I'm tired. And they're like, how did it go? You're doing well with the book, like you're progressing. So you kind of got your cheerleader team, as it were, that are really helping you with this project. So don't go about it alone. Let them know you want to do something like this. And it can also motivate you to stick with it, to carry on with it, because you know that they're behind you going, you can do this. So I really found that amazing. And then I also found out recently how complicated it is to just put a book online without telling anyone, because if you do that, no one knows. So you have to set up a kind of website and a mailing list. I think I probably failed at the mailing list, but with the website, there are certain websites, well, actual sites themselves that you can use to create your own. And I think mine is fairly simple, but at least it's out there. And at least people can find the book through that too. So it's not just about the book, it's also about kind of everything around the book as well, and what you sort of things you want to do to promote it, whether you want to use your Facebook, whether you want to set up a Twitter, all those sorts of things. And it's, yeah, so basically it's about the marketing machine, as it were. So I was quite lucky. I got interviewed in December of last year on BBC Radio London, which was a great experience. Had a wonderful chat with Sama El-Wadani. And then I think last week, I had an interview with Voxburner, and this was a kind of a youth marketing strategy online event, where we had people from marketing companies come along. So that included, I think, Too Good To Go with their Vodafone, Uber, National Youth Theatre, I think people from TikTok. And they were just listening to my opinion on what I think the education system should change. But having these events has been really great for me to kind of publicize it. So for you, I'm not exactly saying that you need to kind of get all these things lined up, but I think we have to experiment with how you get your book out there, how people find out about it, and how you build momentum. And also know that once you get it out and people start liking it, opportunities can arise for you to really make sure that your name stands out and that you can actually get people reading it too.
Nice. Well, no, yeah, that all sounds amazing. Yeah, very inspirational how you probably went for it. Sounds something that you're passionate about. I was wondering, was there anything you wish you knew before you started the self-publishing process?
Yes. Yes, that's the short answer. I think so. Okay, so let me list a few of them. So first of all, definitely get a good editor, because there are bad editors out there. And if you get a bad editor, especially someone that gives you feedback you don't agree with, that's fine, because the editor needs to make you a better version of yourself and needs to make your voice stand out more. They're not getting involved to rewrite your document into their book. It's still your book. So if you don't like what they're doing, get another editor. I was so lucky, my editor was fantastic. I didn't need to do that. But I would say that make sure that you do get a good editor and that you do know what the editor's doing, because at the end of the day, it's your name on the book and you're the one who's going to be saying, this is what I've written. So do that. Keep it to the point when you're writing. My editor took out a lot of waffle, but that happens. It happens to me still in my university essays. You waffle a lot. Readers don't want to read waffle. Bear that in mind. Who's reading it, whether they actually want to read this stuff. Is it necessary? Is it relevant? I learned that the hard way by getting it cut. Longer doesn't mean better. That's something else I learned. So my book's only around 37,000 words, which isn't really that much. There are many, many books out there. Oh, my book's non-fiction. There are many books out there, which fiction books particularly, like Harry Potter, which are a lot longer than that. But for non-fiction, it doesn't have to be that long. You don't have to write a massive, massive 200,000 page masterpiece. And also if you keep it short and you say, every day I'm going to aim to write 1,000 words, for instance, you'll get to that target in no time. Whereas if you don't know where the target is, or you think the target is some extremely high number, you're never going to get that momentum to build yourself towards that. There's a difference between marketing and publicity. I didn't know that. Marketing is really about how you sell the product, how you promote it online. Publicity is how you build your own reputation and draw the attention of the public to your book. And finally, I didn't know this before, but Amazon can print your book for you. So my physical book is actually printed by Amazon. I don't have to have a printing press or a publisher to do that. So that's something I didn't know. You can just have a manuscript and let Amazon print it into a physical book for you.
Oh, wow. So you have a physical version? Oh, that's pretty cool. Damn. No, all sound very interesting things. So for those people that want to write, what advice would you give them?
Do it. Just put pen to paper and do it, or type on your keypad. I know people that kind of have written some basic thing at some point in their life but think it's too cheesy or think no one will like it. And perhaps that's true. Perhaps you want to start with something new. But I think everyone's got that writing vibe in them, that writing bug. I think in America, they ask like adults things that they wish they'd done in their life or things they want to do on their bucket list. And one of the ones that kept coming up was to write a book. And I think if you don't start, you never will. So I would just do it. And like if you just get your friends involved, and you can even make it a friend's book. So a friend of mine wrote a book with some other friends that did it as a collaborative project. You can even share the load, and then you can do a real team effort as well. So while mine was a team effort to some extent, it was me fundamentally doing most of the writing and the editing. So it's that. But if you want to do it as a team, you can get it done a lot faster. And don't worry about trying to find something that you want to say. I'm sure if you do it as a team, especially, you'll find something altogether that you bond over. And people like reading all sorts, non-fiction wise. I think nearly every single topic has got a book on it somewhere. So there's something in you. If you want to do it, do it.
No, yeah, sure. I entirely agree. I think also because a lot of people say that a lot of people keep a journal because there's like to de-stress or clear their minds. They've got a lot of things going on in their heads and want to write it all down. And I think so that has multiple benefits. I do that all the time. I really enjoy it. But then also another benefit of keeping a journal, like writing down how you're feeling, thinking, is that ideas pop out through that. And you might write something that's quite long, quite niche, or something that you're passionate about, and realize actually this is something I want to create further. So yeah, I definitely also then there's just exemplifying your point of do it, even if it's not, even if you think you might want to be a writer, but you don't know what you want to write about, but you can just, there's lots of benefits of keeping a daily journal. And one of those things that you're thinking on a spontaneous day might be something that you actually think, oh, actually, I want to take this further. And then you can, which is the whole point of this podcast, you can go from an idea to self-publishing on Amazon, and you can, and anyone can do that. I think that's, you can't exaggerate like how amazing that is. We have to stay in this day.
And just to add there, I didn't do English A level, and at English GCSE, I probably wasn't the best. I wasn't the best in the class. You don't have to be really good at English to write a book. Anyone can do it.
No, yeah, I entirely agree. I imagine you've done lots of essays at uni, and lots of feedback. Yeah, is one of the great things that not many people talk about from a degree from Oxford's that requires you to do essays, is that through pure mileage and hours of writing essays, whether the essays are good or bad, because you've done so many of them, by the end of it, like by brute hours, you will become very good writers. Because
I'm also quite lucky because at St Hilda's we have our own National Writing Fellow or Literary Fellow, I think. And she's been really helpful for me because I've got advice on my essays, and she also looked through the book and gave me some advice on that too. So at university, there'll always be someone there that can help you with it too, and they will guide you with your text, whether it's your essays or whether it's something else.
Nice. So I was wondering, do you have any plans for coming back?
Not really. I mean, we're in another lockdown now. I'm hoping this isn't the last lockdown, as I have no idea. I'm taking a break from university. I'm at home, and I'm actually trying to prioritize my kind of mental health and well-being and personal development over trying to get out another book. And I think I've also run out of things to say. I might leave it a few years before I even think about writing another one. But I'm very proud now to actually be called an author. I think I got called that first time on the radio, and I was just like, wow, I'm an author now, which is just a big thing. So I'm very happy with that. But at the moment, no, just taking some time off, waiting to go back to complete my master's, and I'll see what happens next.
Nice. Yeah, no, congratulations on becoming an author. What else was I going to say? I was wanted to ask before we wrap it up. I assume you have to pay for an editor to edit your book, and ballpark, what is like how much does an editor cost? Like vary?
It depends on whether your editor is charging you a per day or a per hour or a per word. The one website, actually, I didn't mention this before. One website which is quite good is Reedsy, Reedsy. And you can find people on there that can help you with marketing or publicity or editing or turning your thing into an ebook or anything to do with a book, the whole Stoke process. And if you pick a certain number of people on that kind of marketplace, as it were, they can give you rough ballpark figures, and then you can decide, oh, this looks expensive for me, this looks cheap for me, I'm happy with this, or you lower the price, sort of thing. So you can get a kind of rough figure for you. Yes, you're right, it can be expensive, but it depends really who you go for and what sort of editing you want them to do, because if you're just looking for someone to proofread a document, for instance, that is not as expensive as rewriting the whole thing. So yeah, you're all right.
So like, what was I going to say? Like around lower and upper limit, what would you say in terms of how much it would cost?
Again, it depends on the length of the book.
Okay, yeah, of course. Of course. That makes sense. But yeah, no, Readsy sounds like a good place for people to point towards, direct towards, to check that out for how much Esther would cost. If anyone is thinking about it or in the process, as you said, do it. And that's all that we've got time for today. Thank you, JP, for such an interesting conversation. And thank you for the viewers for listening or watching, whether it's on YouTube, Instagram, or your podcasting platform. Stay safe, and we'll see you guys next time.